who will drive this greater collaboration that we're talking about here? Because everyone agrees there are areas for greater collaboration. Ture, you're saying we just can't think short term, but we also need to think long term. There's a lot that we could be tapping into that we're not tapping into. We need some more risk taking, I think is what you're suggesting here. Clay, you agree there are different ways we can work, and you had examples of that, in your keynote address. Elizabeth, you work across sectors. If we want to develop a blueprint for a more collaborative society with all the technological change that is going on now, because the technology runs much faster than our pocketbooks, how are we going to construct this? Because it's one thing for us to talk about it, it's another thing to implement it, because for all these people here, they need to have certain parameters that will allow them to be viable for the long term that go just beyond a survival mode and beyond efficiency.
Yeah. And I think there is room and responsibility for lots of parties in creating sort of that new way of working together. We are certainly aiming at taking our responsibility in providing neutral ground between parties, between industry and stakeholders to create alignments there. But it's also the responsibility of all the other players in the industry to create the ground for collaboration on their premises. And I'd like to follow up on one of the things that Jan Fredrik said, because you talked about the need to reduce both costs and emissions. And there's actually, in our industry, there's a value chain perspective that we need to have on both of those arenas. And it's quite closely connected. And we're an industry who's been wasting time, wasting money, and burning too much energy producing energy. So there is an opportunity to rethink the value chain right now. And that needs to be, again, between the different parties, and to create a setting where we all gain by recreating that value chain.
I wanted to say that there is another dimension for collaboration that we should not forget. There are other industries that are already mature, that are looking for new markets to enter. So if we lower the barrier to entry to former military contractors that are looking for new business, industrial companies that are plateauing into their growth, and they enter, we already have access to a lot of new technology that exists, is mature, and it works, and it's safe.
And a lot of new capital.
You will be surprised. Today you can buy electronic boards used in oil rigs that cost a fortune, thousands of dollars, and for less than half the price I can buy the same board for the aerospace that is running Boeing and Airbus on the air. Okay, already qualified, already safe, already. So these are things that we're not talking about. That if we create that competition, we'll see a lot of more innovation and creative friction.
When you said half price, a lot of people start taking notes there. Okay, I'll tell you. Yeah, Ture. Yeah.
I think it's all about mindset. It's about people, and it's about also identifying people that really want something, that really wants to do something more together. If you do not have the people that is having the mindset for collaboration, I don't think you can organize a structure. So you need the people that really sees the benefit of and have the mindset for collaboration.
Yeah, I think as follows, that in a value chain, there must be a reason why, for instance, our customers, they do not have their own ships. It must be because they think that there is a supplier industry who's the best to run and operate and the most cost-efficient way of doing it. Over the last, say, 10 years, it has been an extremely increase in, for instance, the signs of lack of really trusting the supplier industry. 10 years ago, if we had a contract with Subsea 7, I were audited by Subsea 7. Today I'm being audited by Subsea 7's customers and customers and customers again. So we have a cost issue here which is accelerating to the extent that I don't think that unless somebody is able to stop this, and all that has to do with standardization, but also the fact that if you have chosen a supplier, I choose my suppliers because they are better than doing it myself. Then there is a very strict borderline. Where are the responsibility? And today we are, let's say, wish-washing it to an extent that it has a cost impact.
And I think this exactly area is one of the areas, there was talk about information technology in the last session. I think this is one of the areas where information technology and using data and sharing data can actually significantly improve the way we are working, to be able to not repeat audits. I mean, that's a simple thing, but the whole quality assurance and learning and accepting observations by others, accepting digital observations as equally important or equally valid as analog observations, to put it that way. That's a whole shift of the industry where there's a huge opportunity.
Mm-hmm. You know, we find in executing big projects, the participants, the customer, the supply chain, unhealthily sort of view each other as adversaries. And what we find is when a project succeeds, everybody, all the participants succeed. When a project fails, we all fail. It's not really the zero-sum game I think that a lot of participants approach it as. So I think what's needed really is collaboration and that understanding, that deeper understanding across the entire group of teams and companies that come together to execute these projects.
Thorsten.
Okay. On the NCS, there's always partnerships on every license. Nothing can be held 100%. So it's about time that those partnerships will have more openness, more trust, and more collaboration. And of course, the environment now is such that, yes, it's a pretty good time. I think everybody's feeling the pressure that they will have to do something to reduce cost.
I think this is a fabulous place to end. More trust, more openness, more collaboration, a lower oil price, as painful as it is. You know, a crisis is also an opportunity. I think you've raised some great points. Let's have a big round of applause for all of our panelists here.